Let me get the slide. Is my screen, is everybody able to see my screen?
Got it.
Great. So welcome. Welcome to the E community. Welcome to wherever you are joining us from. If you are joining us on this Zoom call, it is so wonderful to have you. I am very delighted. My name is Jay Hooper. Pronouns are they and them, as well as I am open to other beloved names that hold strength and courage. And I just want to welcome all of you to this wonderful space. Please know that you are seen, you are heard, and your free thinking and your free doing is welcome in this space. I am bringing you a lot of love and greetings from the uh, Susquehanna Valley Ethical Society, as it is a tongue twister for me still every once in a while. Please charge it to my tongue and not to my heart. But I am so glad to be with all of you today. Um, as we get started, I wanted to bring us into a moment and offer you a time in which we often read this slide. And I love this slide most of all because it is one of our probably a cherished slide that speaks to the beacons in the room. And beacons are often people of light. But I would love to share with you for the moment the importance of not only being a beacon, but being a light in this time that we are in right now. Currently, as social and political formations seem to be slowly mending themselves together and coming together with conviction and with correction, and at the same time, in many ways, being converted in multiple ways. I would love to offer what the beacon offers us today. The beacon, the light that we all have and we come and we share in this space uh, is is something very precious, and particularly within an American legend by the name of Jocko. Jocko is an American legend of a 9-year-old little black boy who, during the Revolutionary War, was actually waiting for his father to return, who had been listed in George Washington's um, army. The little boy had met Washington uh, at the Delaware, and George Washington supposedly had said to the little boy, well, you can look over my horses until I get back. But during that time in this legend, it says that there was a blizzard, and the little black boy was holding the lantern to make sure that the rest of the troops on their way back across the Delaware River would know where to come back. As the light slowly glimmered across the river, George Washington found the little boy frozen to death. And that is the story of Jocko. It is probably one that may sound sad, but it is an American legend. And it is one that shows commitment, devotion, and it also shows a pathway to freedom. The story of often, if for some of you who have ever seen The Black Jockey, is an example of Jocko. And black jockeys were often used, particularly in the northeast, and led many of those running for freedom during the time of the freedom movement for the Underground Railroad, was also used as a signifier for freedom. So I offer you this light and us as beacons to be embodying the freedom that others may actually run to. And I read this in this depth, saying that we gather in community to deepen our sense of meaningfulness of life, to shine light on the ideas with which we guide our choices, to give us courage to to take the higher ethical path and to get to know one another over time in appreciation of each one's unique and incomparable worth. As we embody those words today, I hope that we mark ourselves as freedom today and as beacons of freedom, that we hold up a wonderful light in all of us that could be somebody else's liberation. Today, we have the wonderful privilege of also welcoming Dr. Elise Ambrose. I will be reading her bio soon before she gets started, but we will be talking about intentional community. It is a wonderful time to talk about such things as we begin to think about who we are in this world and who we are within our society and how we hold space for such things that are happening in our world now and how we respond to them. In this space, I'm sure that we will delight very much so in the wisdom and in the understanding and in her scholarship as she presents to us today the beauty of intentional community. So I'm very grateful to have her here with us. I'm very grateful to have her voice amongst us. And I have to say, I am excited anytime that there is a Black woman scholar, Black queer woman scholar before anyone in this group, because it means a lot to have that representation. And not only that representation, that affirmation, that truth is constantly being put out in the world. At this time, I want to hold space for announcements and further announcements that have not been stated in this slide or further. So if there are any further announcements, please feel free to open up and share those as of right now.
Okay. Great, thank you, Jay. Yes, just a few announcements. Next Sunday, yes, it is a fifth Sunday, which we normally don't meet as a society. However, at 11 o'clock a.m., there is a full nationwide ethical society program. And it's titled Replacing Magical Thinking with Rational Discourse. How can free thinkers help restore democracy? This program is part of the AEU's All Societies Platform series, in which ethical culture societies from around the country will join together on Zoom to learn and grow together. So this is an excellent opportunity for SVES to join in with the 20, I don't know now, maybe 25 societies or soon to be societies across our nation. And I will be sending out periodically through the week reminders and how to link into that program. So I'm hoping, that we'll have a good representation of SVES there next Sunday. And then on February 7th, we have a speaker, Dr. Colleen Zoller from Susquehanna University. She's a professor of philosophy and chair of their philosophy department. She'll be speaking, the topic is Mastering the Art of Ethical Cooking, Cultivating Food Justice through Sustainable Kitchen Practices. And in that presentation, we'll be examining ethical issues related to food. And that information as well will be coming to you in emails, Facebook, and our website so that you'll be able to link in. I'm wondering, Jesse, our Valentine project, are you able to give us a little information on how that's going?
Yeah, it's going really well. A lot of people are excited about it in the broader community. Like I posted in our groups page, we have way more people sending Valentines than we had residents of the nursing homes to give them to. So we've expanded it out to include several others. So we have 4 total as of now nursing homes and over 200 people who will be receiving personalized Valentines. If you want to send a Valentine or do this project with children or yourself, you just send it to my home address, and I'll be sorting through and making sure every one of them is personalized and put into an envelope and sent to a nursing home resident in our central Pennsylvania area. So thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. It's a great project. I'm so glad so many are participating. Okay, any other announcements before we move on? Okay. All right, great. Jay?
All right. Oops, let's go back. Let's go back. So we're gonna do something a little different. I know some of y'all have your you know, we're gonna do a little something a little. We're just gonna shift it a bit. I want to bring us into a song. Now, I'm not gonna ask you to sing along with me because, of course, the way that sound works on Zoom, it will not sound the best. So I will kind of lead this, and if you wanna, you know, mute yourself and kind of sing along on your end, and I kind of carry us through this. This is one of the songs that I learned while I was at the First Unitarian Society in Minneapolis. It was one of, I thought to myself, I said, oh, we have to definitely kind of begin to practice some of this and learn some of this. But the song is called Lead with Love, and it is by Melanie DeMore, who is a activist singer. And the artwork that you see before you is by Tafa, who is a Brooklyn artist. I want to give just a very big thank you to him for allowing for me to use his work today to express a lot of his amazing craft. But this is called The March. But if you will, the song goes like this. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Don't give up hope. You're not alone. Don't give up. Keep moving on. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Lift up your eyes. Don't you despair. Look up ahead. The path is there. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. I know you're scared and I'm scared too, but here I am right next to you. Last time, you gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. So I hope that that song will keep you as we continue to lead with love in this society. And as we lead with love, one of the ways that we lead in love is that we affirm the worth, dignity, and uniqueness of every human being. And so you are welcome here to be in this space. You are welcome no matter who you are where you come from, you are definitely welcomed here. So we thank you and we welcome you. This is a wonderful work by the illustrator Kadir Nelson, who is a Pratt alum and a friend of mine. This is called After the Storm. This was just produced recently. And I just wanted to share that work of how we show up in this world, brave, bold, courageous, and inclusive. All right, so I am so glad to have with us today Elise Ambrose, and I want to hold space for reflection. And some of you have already done so, which is that you have emailed her your images, but I want to give you the opportunity to actually begin to reflect and think and maybe share a bit. We won't go into full detail, but I want to offer us 5 minutes of reflection. What images come to mind when we think about community? What images come to mind when we think about community? So I'm gonna close the screen down, but I want us to hold that in mind, and I want to give us the opportunity. I can't see y'all. I'm actually just seeing the screen, so I would love to see some of your precious faces. So I'm gonna click back and move into seeing y'all again. There we go. Hi, everyone. Any ideas of images that come up for anyone? And even if you haven't had a chance to email, feel free also to find an image online if you're computer savvy, and feel free to say, hey, can I have the option to share? I will love to share your image and share that so that we can get an idea of how you see yourself there.
Jay, good morning. I was just writing in the comments to have everyone just hold the image in their mind, and we'll share a little bit during the presentation, but we're just holding the image in the mind for now, if that's okay.
My fault, no problem. Thank you for that push. I didn't realize. Thank you. All right. Well, let's see, what else do we have next? I'll go ahead and get ready for the introduction and introduce who you are then. So this is perfect segue. Yay. All right. Well, let's go ahead and move forward with the introduction. I want to introduce to you our topic today is intentional community. We have the wonderful pleasure of having with us Dr. Elise Ambrose. She is the founder and creative organizer of Phoenix Sparks LLC, and she is a Black queer woman. She is bringing a Black queer ethic and she's creative, and she's an educator, researcher, all about community practice and art that lies at the intersections of race, sexuality, gender, and spirituality. In many ways, her scholarship integrates theory and practice, in which we are experiencing today in many ways the practice and the manifestation of Phoenix Sparks, which is what she is embodying today, where she works with individuals towards shaping ethical values and practices related to gender and sexuality. She has done several works. She did a photosonic work entitled "Spirit of the Dark Body: Black Queer Expressions of the Immaterial and Material" in San Diego, California. She's also a visiting assistant professor of ethical leadership at the Society at Meadville Lombard Theological Seminary in Chicago, and as a Louisville Institute doctoral fellow. Her research has been supported by also Yale University, Sarah, I think that word is Pitt Fund, and the Forum for Theological Exploration. Make sure I'm not missing anything because she has done so much here. She also has she has been featured in the Huntington Post, as well as CBC Radio's One Tapestry, and she is a curator and co-host of Black Queer Love, a podcast and social medium exploring relationships, sex, love, pop culture, life, healing, embodiment, and art from a Black queer lens. I do welcome you, and I have the wonderful honor to share with you Dr. Elise Ambrose.
Thank you so much, Jay, for that introduction, and thank you for leading us this morning in this time together. I was especially moved by the image shared earlier of a lighthouse, sort of like muted tones, a gray lighthouse, a gray beacon amid gray clouds. And it looks a lot like Chicago looks today. We got a weather advisory for a storm that's coming. So it feels very appropriate to be thinking about what to do in stormy weather. And yeah. So let's sit with that a little bit this morning. Thank you also, Patty, for your invitation, for your welcome, and creating this opportunity for me to be with SVES. I'll just call it that because I haven't had practice with the name of the city yet. But it's a joy to be with everyone. And thank you to this community for your welcome already. So I come to this work around community after having sought community for as long as I can remember in my life, from childhood to today. And I have the gift of having found community in so many places, or so many people really around the world. And after such decades-long searches for community, I think that it's something that's very near and dear to my heart, and I'm very glad to be speaking with you about this morning, this idea of intentional community. And I will say that in general, I use the word community. I don't say intentional community as much, even though I understand where that impetus comes from and why one might feel led to say intentional community. But to me, it's a lot like saying real love or true love. Like, if love isn't real or true, then in essence, it's not love. And for me, if community isn't intentional, it's not really community. And so I'm excited to jump into this topic, getting us all on the same page there, but know that whenever I am talking about community, I mean intentional community in the same ways that you've been exploring it. So Patty shared with your community, I believe, via your Facebook page, a video that I spoke about community upon, and I just want to share it this morning again for those who may not have heard it, and just to situate us and share where we're coming from, why this has become a topic of conversation, and I'm here to talk about it. I'm just going to share my screen. And I believe I am offering us this video for a moment of reflection.
Hey, I want to talk a bit about accountability. And this maybe comes from some interactions I've had on Clubhouse, but walk with me as we talk about accountability and community. Part of our relating to one another is our ability to be able to trust that we can hold one another in loving care. That when I raise a concern, that when I say that something you have done has hurt me, or vice versa, that we can hear each other and that we can respond in a way that shows that I validate what it is that you said and I'm willing to make recompense. But I want to say that that only happens in community. I've observed so many of us frustrating ourselves, seeking accountability from people who are not in community with us and have no desire to be held accountable. I think about how we relate to our leaders, how we relate to organizations, institutions, etc. And we hurt ourselves. We get angry, we get upset, we spend so much time asking for oranges from organizations and people who only have apples. That is to say, asking for something from someone who will never give it to us. And this isn't a fatalist position. This isn't me being pessimistic or even saying that we need to let up on the ways that we seek recompense from those who cause harm. But I'm saying that when someone or an organization or a leader, quote unquote, does harm, the correct posture or the posture that may help us more than seeking accountability is seeking responsibility and justice. Responsibility and justice. But when we're dealing with a community member, accountability is the way to go because they've actually chosen to be connected to us. We've actually chosen to be connected to them. And so we've entered a trust as a group of people. And in that, there can be accountability. But I encourage us today to stop banging our heads up against walls, seeking things from people and organizations who will never give them to us because we've never entered a sacred trust with one another to say that we would. I think of the example of someone, perhaps on Clubhouse, who was attempting to share with a cisgender heterosexual person that they were being transphobic. And it occurred to me that this person did not have access to resources. As a matter of fact, this was a totally queer room also, and they decided to enter the room as their cisgender heterosexual selves. So that told me right from the start that I'm not in community with this person because they don't respect my boundaries. They don't respect the boundaries that we've intended to create as a community. So how can we be in community together? I don't quote the Bible a lot, particularly because I'm not a Christian, but I will say that there are some good things in there. And one scripture says, how can two walk together unless they agree? And that is to say, stop walking with people and expecting them to walk with you when you haven't entered on the same playing field. You haven't agreed to walk together, and so you can't. This is just an intention that I'm setting to help people with whom I'm in community to stop harming yourself by looking for something from organizations, from people with whom you're not in community, but to lean more heavily, more restfully, more fully on community and expect for community to do what community has agreed to do. And then there are processes in place for addressing when community members don't act as community members. But first and foremost, I think we have to remember that accountability is an act of community. And that community is not something that is shared just because we have common identity markers. Community is an intention. So I'm saying to everyone who's listening, love your community. Seek accountability within community. Grow as community, expand as community. Expect the best from one another as community. And when dealing with those with whom we are not in community, seek justice and seek responsibility. And in all things, do it with grace. Because it wasn't too long ago that you may have also been an uninformed, ignorant person whom you are now correcting. Love yourself and love someone else.
Thank you for indulging me in that. I will say that video came to my heart, not only because of the Clubhouse experience, which is a social media platform where people just talk to one another on the phone about a number of topics, but also I think just observing the state of the nation and seeing people's frustration as they wanted basically the president to do things that he seems to be incapable of because he is not in community. And so the video did come from a place of saying what community is not. And so today we're going to talk a bit about what community is. And I'm wanting to share also for your thoughts, I'd like to know from you, what is it that makes community community? And your pictures that you shared may be helpful for just thinking through this. And I will describe them if we don't mind. I think it'll just help us to get on the same page about community in general. But I have some pictures here. And if people who shared those photos would like to offer reflections about why they shared those photos, I'm also open to that. I think that would be very fruitful for your thinking together. So what we have here for the first photo is a person who has their feet up on a wooden sort of platform. It looks like it's they're in a cabin. And their feet are up on a table. They are reclining. They are relaxed. They have on these lovely fuzzy yarn socks. It looks like a warm winter moment because they're indoors and they have a cup of some warm beverage, and the cup also has a cozy around it. So everything is warm about this photo. There's a fireplace in the background as well. Warm tones in the photo. Really lovely image of a warm day, shielded from the winter cold.
Yeah, Elise, you captured it. I mean, that's exactly what being in community, as you know, as you had been describing it in your video, it's that warm, cozy feeling that you experience when you're in community with others.
Thank you, Patty. The next photo I have here are cogs. And I don't know a lot about cogs, but I'm gonna try to explain what I think is going on here. So it almost looks like the inner workings of a watch, except multiplied in many ways. So maybe it's a machine. And the way that the cogs work, the grooves of one cog go into the other. So there's small cogs and big cogs and cogs within cogs. And it's all metallic silver. And I'm sure that these cogs are working together for some end. But the image we have here is of several cogs, small and large together, different shapes, different ways of working together to keep the cogs going. If anyone who shared that wants to share, we can
Yes.
do that.
I was just laughing because it's so opposite of the cozy feeling. It's just cold and the colors are cool. But I think that those are two complementary. When you talk about community, it's like it feels warm and fuzzy and everybody has a place and a purpose and everybody works together, big and small ways, etc.
Thank you, Jessie. Next image we have here is of a lush forest, presumably in the spring or the summer. It is a sunny day in this photo, and the tree is near a body of water. So the roots are connected to the land, but also we imagine that the roots are also growing at the riverbank, let's say. Lots of trees interconnected. And I'll share that this is actually my image of community. I like to look to forests as an ecosystem that reflects boundaries, that reflects functionality and purpose for each member of that ecosystem, and that reflects sort of like a sustainable community. The forest, when it's left alone, has ways of maintaining itself, has ways of protecting itself, has ways of taking care of everything from the forest floor to the very highest leaves, and all the things that go on in a body of water, a fresh body of water. So that's the image of the forest that we have here. And this final image is of a lovely tossed salad, finely minced, let's say romaine lettuce with kidney beans and looks like yellow peppers, onions, green olives, other things that I don't quite recognize, tomatoes, a tossed salad with all sorts of things in it as an image of community. And someone, yeah, I'm a little hungry too, Jesse. And Christian also shared in the comments that they think of covenant when they think about community. So if the person who wants to talk about the salad wants to talk about the salad, we're open to that.
Okay, at least that person isn't with us today. They're at a family funeral.
Thank
Okay,
you.
but I think yes, he had given me a little explanation on Facebook. Again, I think it shows the diversity in community and creating something, in this case, something very yummy.
If it isn't delicious, I don't want it. I agree with you. I see a raised hand from Kimmy.
Hi. I'm still in bed, but I'm with you.
Great.
My image of community is very simple. I chose this Picasso painting because you can see that there are two hands, one coming from a different direction. You can't tell who the giver or the receiver is, but clearly they're sharing something beautiful. And that's all.
Thank you. I see the image of a hand giving another hand a bouquet of flowers. And thank you for sharing that as your image of community with us. So I want to share a bit more for clarity's sake about what community is not. In the video, I was attempting to propose an effective means of pursuing right relationship where there is no covenant, as Christian has pointed out, or no sacred trust has been established. So I want to say, as I share this idea of what community is not, I'm just pulling up a slide here. Pulling up a slide here that says what community is not, and it names 3 things. I'm going to share it with you in a second. Share my screen, and here we go. It says that community is not to be assumed because of shared identities. I shared that in the video. I hope that you're actually still seeing this, but I wanted to pull up a few of my words. So in that sense, frequently in our public discourse, there's this idea of like the Black community or the Latinx community. And there's an assumption that community exists just because that group of people share an identity. And it's frequently, I think, ascribed to groups that experience marginalization. And sort of there's an othering and a monolithic view imposed on a community. And so I want to disrupt that idea that community exists just because people have a shared identity. There are many Black communities, many Latinx communities, or many groups or many communities that are made up of Black or Latinx people, for example. And the same can be said for a number of communities. Community is not to be assumed because of physical proximity. So just because people gather in the same space weekly doesn't inherently assume community. As a matter of fact, a community takes a bit more than just a geographic setting or a physical proximity. And lastly, community is not to be assumed without the fruit of community. My mother used to say to me, if it walks like a dog, talks like a duck, it's a duck, right? So if it looks like community, it is community. And if we can't see the fruits of community, then we have to question whether community is truly residing and finding flourishing in that space. So what community is an intention. Community is a space of radical honesty. Community is a commitment to become together. Community is an intention. Community is a space of radical honesty. Community is a commitment to become together. Intention. A popular word, I think, in our public imagination right now is intention. But when I think about the word intention, I think about setting my mind, setting my heart, my faculties, my resources, everything at my disposal towards some process or some end. That's what it means for me to set in intention. And for a community, perhaps that end or that process that is being sought is the being and becoming of community. So when we set intention, or when we engage with intention, we are taking all that we are and bringing it to the table toward a goal, a telos, an end, right? I think also intention implies sacred trust, as we mentioned before, but especially a willingness. I don't think that community is something that ought to be compulsory or something that ought to be entered into lightly. It is a thing where I contribute my will to building community, to being a part of community, to practicing community, right? And it's something that I'm committed to out of desire and not out of duty. Alexis Pauline Gumbs, who's a Black queer feminist writer and artist and oracle, talks about what if in our daily lives, instead of being led by duty, I have to do this, I have to do that, oh, they're counting on me to do this, so I just have to do it. And there's sort of a drudgery that often comes along with duty, but what if we tapped into desire and really started to long to show up for people, to long to provide safe or brave space for people, to long to provide meals for people who need meals, clothing for people who need clothing? What if we were led by desire? And so in that way, we cultivate our desire around things that aim toward the values that we hold, and community being among those values. Another thing that is meant by intention in community is that your presence, my presence, is consequential. So that means that, you know, if I haven't seen you for a week and you're in my community, I'm checking up on you. Like, how you doing? What's going on with you? How you feeling? Because I miss your presence, because your presence truly matters. You know, when we say Black Lives Matter or Trans Lives Matter, that's not a bare minimum statement. I think it's often read that way, and it's like at the very least we matter. But actually, I think that is huge to say that something matters. It means that it's consequential. It means that at the end of the day, I'm invested in your materiality, in your matter, right? Just because you are matter, just because you are, right? Okay. And intention also has to do with presence. I am sort of a counter millennial in this sense that I hate like phones in community when people are just like, bloop, 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 right? Because to me, it feels a little bit like we're not being present. And I'm not going to assume that that's always what happens. And maybe I am projecting a little bit because that's what it means when I'm in my phone. But I will say that when another human being is present, I really think that that is a sacred moment. When two people decide to be present together, the human in me sees the human in you, and I am in awe of that. And it makes me want to put my phone down. It makes me want to pay attention and focus on what's happening, right? Right in front of my eyes. And it's a gift that you are here. So that's what I mean by intention. Community is also a space of radical honesty. And this is a hard one because honesty requires transparency. Honesty requires vulnerability. And that is not something that we are often accustomed to practicing, because vulnerability literally means that you have the ability to be hurt. You are vulnerable to pain. You are exposed to pain. And that's hard because we don't want to be hurt. And we actually go to great lengths to not be hurt, right? We do a lot of shielding, a lot of defense mechanisms, a lot of contorting to not be hurt. But what would it mean to enter this space in radical honesty, all that you are, a vulnerable being, knowing that even as you open yourself to pain, you also open yourself to an abundance of joy. You also open yourself to the fullness of love, the fullness and the abundance of that which is delicious, like that salad we saw earlier, right? To open, you don't get to funnel out. We don't get to funnel out those distressing feelings and keep only the favorable ones. The fullness of life is all of that. Everything belongs in the fullness of life. And we have to trust our resilience that we're able to withstand even our own radical honesty. I think radical honesty is also a willingness to say that this is where we diverge. This is where we hold difference. And that's okay. So often in communities and in our public imagination, we say this thing of, when it comes down to it, we're all the same. And that always rubs me the wrong way, because it says that in order for me to love you, I have to see our sameness. In essence, you have to be like me. And I love you because you are like me. And that is such a challenging thing for me to hear, because I stand at so many margins of difference. And I think a lot of us who are on this Zoom right now stand at many points of difference. And what would it look like to celebrate difference? I think our desire to subsume everything into sameness is why we treat the earth the way that we do, because we don't honor that the earth is different from us and celebrate that it has a whole different skill set, a whole set of talents that is wholly unlike ours. And why don't we appreciate that? Maybe it's why we've treated indigenous people the way that we have, immigrants the way that we have in this country, because we don't celebrate difference. It's a lie that our sameness is what makes us worthy of community and protection. And as I said before, it's the very fact that we are that makes us worthy, that we exist, that makes us worthy. And so radical honesty allows us to dispel that lie and many other lies about our worth and about our belonging, and to move forward in radical honesty. And finally, community is an agreement to become and to do it together. So that includes, for me, accountability. That includes boundaries. That includes patience and grace. And more than anything, it reminds us, when we say that community is an agreement to become, it reminds us that community is not a moniker. It's not something that looks good on the letterhead or outside the building. It is a practice. It is a daily practice, an hourly, a minute by minute practice, right? And so it's not something that is one and done. It's something that we continually have to revisit because it's a practice. And practice, I don't say practice makes perfect. I say that practice makes development. We develop that muscle of community. Now, if community were easy, I think that everybody would be doing it. Or in other words, our worlds would look a lot different if we had a strong ethic around community in general. And so I want to sit with these questions with you, if I may, and share my screen again. And the questions are, what is it about community that excites you? What is it about community that haunts or scares you? What is it about community that makes you wonder? I'll share one thing that scares me about community, as I mentioned before, the revealing of the self, the vulnerability, the transparency. I'm a little non-confrontational in my everyday life. I let a lot of things slide because I don't want to have the confrontation. But I think community invites us to go beyond the surface, beyond the acting, right? Acting like everything is all right. Yeah, it's no problem. That didn't hurt me. I'm cool. I'm cool. And allow us to say, you know what? That did hurt. You know what? I am not at a place where I feel that I can be vulnerable with you. And what is a great balance for that fear that I have with courage is moving at the speed of trust. Maybe some of us have heard that before. Move at the speed of trust. I am not a person who fakes it until I make it. I say, this is where I am. And I'm gonna keep on striving. I'm gonna keep on trying, but this is where I am right now. Maybe you can meet me here and we can move at the speed of trust together. Comments. Christian says, community excites me when it sort of blends and gels and sort of creates a rhythm or dance unique to it, composed of unique individuals. It's beauty. That is what excites Christian. Thank you, Christian. I see a hand raised from Rick.
Yeah, what excites me about community is meeting different people and interacting with them. But what haunts and scares me is that I see everything through a white, middle-aged perspective, so I'm afraid I'm going to say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing. That's what scares me and I have said the wrong things over the years, but to make me wonder there, I acknowledge it and I try to change it, but that, like my picture here, these are the neighbor boys. And I know nothing about the community, the Amish community, but all summer long, we share candy and pops with them and they leave vegetables on my door. So we got that little thing going, it's like, I'm never going to become Amish or old order Amish and then I got neighbors that are so far conservative, but like we had a snowstorm the other day and the one farmer just puts the front end loader and cleans my whole driveway. It's like, you got to meet in those little places, and there's going to be uncomfortable things, but you got to acknowledge it and move on not move on, but know that, you're different, but we'll celebrate our uniqueness, but learn from our mistakes is what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rick.
You're
Thank you for
welcome.
your vulnerability and transparency and sharing. And I heard Rick say this thing about being afraid to say or do the wrong thing because you don't want to hurt another person. And I totally understand that. And I think what I've often found in community when I do say and do the wrong thing, something happens, a rupture of some kind. And I don't think that a rupture is a negative thing. I think that a rupture is an opportunity to expand or to contract, to expand or to contract. And I find frequently, if we're able to face that uncomfortable moment in honesty and together, that it can become a moment of expansion. But when we ignore it, or when we act like something didn't hurt, I think that's where we find ourselves contracting and actually moving further and further away from that vision of community that we were pursuing. Jesse says that community excites me when it fills my head with possibilities of what we can do together versus on our own. Yes, that individualism will get us every time. What scares me, says Jesse, is investing time in building community with others who might let me down in some way. And I don't have a pithy saying for that. That's the risk. That's the risk. Thank you for that, Jesse. Woo. And one more comment from Lindsay. Lindsay, what scares me is when I think I am in community and then realize that it's not quite so. When a moment of growth hits, I've seen community fall apart. Yes, yes, yes. I think, Lindsay, you're lifting up for us that sometimes we change communities throughout our lives. And, I don't think that means that anybody is a bad person or that means that anyone is inherently underdeveloped or any number of things are wrong. I have a friend, Jorge, my wise friend, he always says, nothing's wrong here. Whenever a total disaster is taking place, he says to me, nothing is wrong here. And I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Like, this is a disaster. What do you mean nothing is wrong? And I think what he means by that is, again, when we're talking about that human experience, everything is welcome in the human experience because this is what it means to be human. It's not drama. It's not anything that is uncommon of what it means to live in an existence that is full of complexity and possibility. Thank you, Anthony. So I want to close my time, at least, with a final word of the importance of cultivating within and with ourselves what we desire of community. Why don't we take a moment, actually, just like 1 minute, to reflect on what do we ask of community, but often refuse to give to ourselves. I think I have a slide for that. What do we often ask of community, but struggle to give to ourselves? This is for you to hold in your heart. You don't have to share it aloud, but this question, maybe in your journaling, maybe as you think throughout the week, maybe as you practice mindfulness, you'll give some attention to what do we ask of community or even give to community, but we struggle to give to ourselves. It's often said that we cannot give what we do not have. Or as RuPaul says, if you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you gonna love somebody else? That's what RuPaul says. But I think actually that humans are pretty persistent and can hold contradiction and tension. So often we are giving to other people what we don't give ourselves. But I will say that that is not sustainable. It is unsustainable to be honest with other people if we are not honest with ourselves. And as a matter of fact, I think that we'll begin to become resentful and regretful for all that we put out. Unsustainable to be kind and vulnerable and filled with grace toward other people when we don't really like ourselves and we judge ourselves. But thankfully, we are each other's companions and we get to accompany one another, right? As our word said this morning, we get to accompany one another in community toward a bigger picture, right? That is not only our own development and our own cultivation of healing that will help us to heal our world, but the bigger picture of shaping our worlds. So I want to close with this song of accompaniment. It's a song that is sung by someone that I am fortunate to be in relationship to.
Well, it looks like it might be a hard road, but I'm gonna walk it with you. And I know you might have a heavy load, but I can carry some too. I will lift you up when they push you down. I will raise my voice and stand my ground. Well, it looks like it might be a hard road, but I'm gonna walk it with you. That's right. I'm gonna walk it with you. I'm gonna walk it with you.
Ashe. That was a song from Orion Johnstone, written by Brian Claflin and Ellie Grace. I'm gonna walk it with you. I'll let that be our final word on community. Thank you.
Well, I want to, of course, we can't thank you enough. I'm over here, got misty-eyed and everything, but I'm a Scorpio, so I'm expected to get emotional and cry. I'll be feeling words.
I'm with you. I'm crying for your own words.
Like, oh. So I just wanna say to all of you, it is of course that time where we begin to go into our conclusion. Jesse has just made it very clear that the 1-year-old was dancing to that wonderful song. So it is just beautiful to even think that community got the baby into a groove. I'm here for that. And it is I'm just going to go ahead and share this last quote with you. We are going to move into things. But before I get started, I said I was going to geek myself out with you since I know you on a personal level. What kind of cheer would you like? Would you like a hamburger cheer? Would you like a roller coaster cheer? Or would you like a hot chili cheer? Which one you want?
Roller coaster.
Okay. So those of you probably don't know, but I have a background in teaching and I love moments like this. So I'm gonna pull this down and lock it. And we're just gonna There you go.
I
We
didn't
gonna
know what
stick
I
you
was
off
asking
with the
for. Thank you.
Yes. You are not gonna leave out of here without some kind of love and excitement on the end. I can assure you, gratefully everybody was muted because it would have blasted your apartment. But we will be adding those every once in a while because I was like, no, we need to give you some love. So thank you so much. Let us close out with these wonderful words in this very moment, which is simply the following. Open up this slide. Give me a quick second. And so as we conclude, I just want to leave us with this quote: communication leads to community, that is, to understanding, intimacy, and the mutual valuing that was previously lacking. Community can be defined simply as a group in which free conversation can take place. Community is where I can share my innermost thoughts, bring out the depths of my own feelings, and know they will be understood. That is Rollo May. And I just wanted to leave us with that. And as we conclude and close up, our final words are the following: go in knowing. Go out into the world knowing that freedom is the power to dominate what dominates you. Go be the justice you lack. Go be the power you feel. Go be the compassion all thirsts for. Go emboldened by the power of the human spirit. Go creating freedom. And it is so good to have all of you. Thank you for sharing this wonderful morning with me and with our wonderful community as we constantly are doing this love work. I encourage you to continue to go. And Patty, I will turn this portion over to you as our founder and our fearless one, who has, of course, created this beautiful space.
Thank you. Thank you, Elise. Thank you, Jay. And thank you to everybody who joined us this morning. I want to say hello, Lindsay. I did not get a chance to welcome you when you first came in. I didn't get a chance to welcome Christian. Welcome, Christian. Let's see, who else did I? Guy. I didn't get a chance, Guy, to say good morning to you. And I'm so glad everyone, Brian, yes, Brian, there you are. Welcome this morning, Brian. Thank you, everyone. And it was wonderful being in community. And I have to say, everything that happened this morning, I was feeling it to my very, very core. And it was beautiful. It was beautiful being here with everyone today. So I want you to go forward this week, live your lives, and we'll see you next Sunday. Looking forward to everyone again. And remember that we do have telephones, cell phones, Facebook, emails. There's so many ways for us to stay connected when we can't do it in person. Love you all. Bye.
Take care.
Thank you.
Be well, be well, be well.
Love you all. Love you, Jay.
Love you, love you, love you. Be good, be safe.
Good looking guys there, Brian. Christian, hey, Christian, be well. Yeah, I won't keep you though, because I know you got things to do, but I want to say that it was wonderful. It was.
I'm glad. I really am glad.
Yeah.
I hope some of those little changes were.
Oh,
that was great.
They were great
fantastic,
changes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes, okay. And I am going to touch base with Jessie to get a little thought from her,
Okay.
you know, and
Great.
what she was thinking of it. And then I'll, you know, share that with you. And there's that lantern.
So I got these, and I thought this would be appropriate for for the space.
Yes,
So I will introduce it sometime next week
that
as we
sounds
talk
good.
about it as a representation of freedom and freedom making, right?
Right.
And what's this doing? So
Okay, so it won't be next week because we're not
Oh,
meeting yet.
right,
It will be the first Sunday in February.
yeah, that's right. It's in February. Yeah, because I forgot. Yeah.
Right.
So that'll be perfect. Y'all have a wonderful Sunday. Enjoy
You
yourself.
too. Okay. Bye.
Take care, Jay. We love you.
Love you.
Love you too, Dad. Be good.
Bye.
Lindsay Siegel, where's she from?